welcome back to my YouTube channel. I thought that we could talk about Bootcamp and the 8 weeks that you were there. This is my husband Alex, if you haven't met him already. So yeah, let's get started. I think he left for Bootcamp, was it March, end of March. And we had our daughter. She was 8 months old, I think, at the time. This was 2 years ago, and it was really hard for us while he was gone. The first time we met was in 2014, and we were talking ever since we got each other's number every single day. We were texting, emailing, FaceTiming, writing letters. Especially like if there was a summer that we were gone, we would make sure that we stayed in touch. And so when he left for Bootcamp, that was the first time that we hadn't talked to each other in our entire relationship. And we had been married for 2 years already when you went? Yeah, 2 years already when he left for Bootcamp. So that was really difficult. Ways that I personally didn't get over it, but try to distract myself, was I was working part-time at a juice bar, and then obviously had our daughter, and then we had a dog. We have Nala, our husky, and so we would take her to the dog park, have play dates with her friends, my friends, try and stay busy. Also, I'm a very kinesthetic visual person, so I made this like huge calendar on my wall in my bedroom that had every single day leading up to when his graduation was, so that I wouldn't be like too, I don't know, downtrodden.
And for Cora.
And for Cora, yeah. And on certain days, like I would be doing something, I would have that on there to look forward to that. I can show you a picture of that. But besides doing those, I would write letters to him. As soon as you got to Bootcamp, you gave me a call, and you were able to tell me.
Well, they have a script that they have us read, and it literally has blanks, and it says, dear this person, and they're gonna have basically one of their CC's company commanders standing behind them, and they just, for us, I believe they just passed a phone around and said here, or I think they maybe used our own phones at the time.
No, I remember that you had a weird number, so,
so
I had to answer like an unknown number, not knowing who it was, and I cried when I heard that it was you.
So they gave us the phones, told us, hey, this is the script, basically fill in the blanks, and you're not going to have a chance for them basically to say anything in return, and you just got to hang up as soon as you're done reading. That, basically you arrive there, you're in good hands, and if you graduate on time, give them an idea basically when you'll be done at Bootcamp.
But then you were there for a week, and then you were able to call me or tell me, or were you able to email me telling me what company you were in and how I could write you letters?
I don't think it was email. I think it was just probably another quick phone call.
Oh.
Because we didn't get computer access until a couple weeks through.
Okay, yeah. Well, anyways, he was able to tell me what company he was in and where I was able to write letters to him. And so once I had that information, then I started writing him every single day, if not twice a day. I would handwrite letters, include pictures. I would go buy cards that were fun, that I knew would make him laugh, because let's be honest, it's probably a really hard 8 weeks, and a little bit of humor could do you some good.
The best thing was the Polaroid pictures.
Oh yeah, I sent a lot of Polaroid pictures of both me and our daughter and our dog.
By the end of Bootcamp, every person in my squad bay knew who Cora and Courtney were. And we were sitting there, basically, you know, like, oh yeah, excited to see the next pictures, because you'd have some of the guys that wouldn't get much mail at all, and
yeah, that's right.
They had a lot of it where people could send random letters, where it's like to any recruit, right?
Yeah, any recruit.
Mail.
Yeah.
So like parents or random people could send letters, and if you didn't get a letter, they'd pass around, and you could open it up, and it's just kind of a, you know.
I think I wrote one letter a week to a random recruit in your company.
Yeah, a lot of them would be like, hey, you know, your wife or your daughter.
They were really short, inspirational letters.
Yeah.
But besides writing hand letters, there's also an app called Sandboxx that's military based, and you can write in your message in this box. They give you a certain amount of characters that you can use, and then you can also add a photo, and you pay them to print it off and send it to that boot camp. And it's not just for Coast Guard. I think it's also for just other parts of the military for boot camp.
Yeah, I know Navy uses as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who else.
So that was really nice. So every once in a while I would do that, but anytime that I would do that, I would also write a letter that day. When I would write letters, though, I would keep them really, really short because I wanted to make sure that he could read the whole thing. And I always, always, always included a questionnaire either on the bottom or on the back. And it wasn't like multi-questions. It was like maybe 3 or 4 questions that were circle, like yes or no, or this person, or like a really quick fill in the blank. And then I would also send an envelope that was pre-addressed back to my house with a stamp on it, which gave him the ultimate, like, I don't know, the ultimate chance, forgot that word, of actually responding to me. And so I was part of a Facebook group page for his specific company, and it was like our support group, and people would be asking if people are getting letters, and I think I would get at least 1, if not 2 letters a week back from you, because I made it really easy for him to just respond. And it's not like I would get a lot of information, but I would always be so excited knowing, okay, so he is getting my letters, he is able to respond to me. And so I would have to like let them know, like, yeah, I've been getting mail. I got like 1 or 2 letters a week, but that's not typical.
If I remember how it worked, it was on Sundays after probably the 2nd week, you got a couple hours. They wanted to call it downtime, but they ended up using, I think it was a whiteboard, and saying, you know, you had to finish all these tasks on the whiteboard, which included making racks more than you usually had to, ironing, shining shoes, and then like just doing tons and tons of studying in the different literature they give you. And included in that was time to write letters as well, and they'd have like a drop box to toss them in, or just a basket. Besides that, every night, I believe it was, before you had to rack out, they'd give you 10 minutes, and that was for either reading your Bible, praying, or writing or opening mail. So they'd give you your mail when you're in, all mustered up in a squad bed, and then they'd say, all right, take your mail, break off, and you can try to write letters, read mail, or have your, you know, spiritual time there. So I remember is that, I mean, by the time you got back there and you know, you're already changed out for bed, you had to be wearing a clean set of PT gear for bed every night, and before you go to bed, basically you'd only have time to read letters. I mean, just because writing the return section and where the letter is coming from was like a 5-line block just for Cape May alone. So I remember that, and thankfully our CCs, they yelled at us like every night before it, but we never ended up getting in trouble, was that in our squad bay, at least, because it was my little brother and I, one of my good buddies, Sparks there, us 3 and probably another 5 to 8 guys, we'd all take turns basically praying for everybody else in the company after all the lights were out, after they told us to, you know, quiet down, shut up for the night. So they'd hear us in there too, And then you have this one kid, he was awesome, Lacey. Him and Sparks, a lot of time they'd end up singing songs in there too. They just yelled at it like crazy. But yeah, so there wasn't much time at all to actually write letters. So I was thinking to myself, I'm sure that Courtney was getting frustrated because I'd get letters twice a day to at least a couple times a week, and then she'd get
the point.
She'd get maybe if I was lucky, I'd get one out per week.
Yeah, it was really, really slim pickings. When I was waiting for letters in between, it was really hard and anxious because you don't hear from them at all until week 3. They start a company blog, which if you're part of the Facebook group page, someone will let you know how to find that information. Anyways, waiting in between hearing from him or hearing from the blog, I would be going crazy not hearing from him. So at nighttime, once I put our daughter down to sleep, then I'd have my parents watch her, and I'd go to the gym, and I would just run and run and run until I was tired enough to go to sleep, so I wouldn't have to be thinking and staying up all night wondering what he's doing, how he's doing, what's he learning, how's he doing physically, is he going to pass his PT test. I would just go and work out like crazy so that I was physically exhausted, so my body would fall asleep and I wouldn't have to be up because my mind was running constantly wondering about how he was, since I wasn't hearing from him. Once those blogs started coming in, those I think came in like every Tuesday, and so that was really nice because once a week I knew I would hear from somebody from his company saying what they were doing or what they were going to be doing. And then week 4, I think you had your midterms and PT test, and I think that you told me that you passed in like a letter or something. But then I think we got our first phone call at week 5. It was either week 5 or the beginning of week 6 is when you had found out where
week
you're
5
going to be.
Find out where you're going to get stationed. Yeah. And at that point you have computer access too, so you can, especially for people with spouses, you can send emails through, just to tell them where you're going to be living, where you can start looking for housing. A lot of the places will have base housing, so that's pretty easy. When they get there, they'll have time to contact where they're going to be living as well in their unit, so they just wait for a sponsor call.
I just remember getting that phone call. I was at a bridal shower for my best friend's sister, and I was getting ready to leave, and I was so emotional because I hadn't heard from him, actually heard his voice in 5 weeks. And I was just telling her, I was like, I haven't heard from him. I'm just getting so emotional because I miss him so much. But I was staying strong, and then I was packing up the car, ready to go. And I got his phone call, and I started bawling. And I was outside, so like everyone else is inside. But I had Cora in the car. She's like out there, and she's like, you heard from him? And I'm just like standing there, bawling my eyes out because you told me, hey, I found out where we're moving to. I miss you. I love you. And I'm just like, I'm talking to my husband. So that was just the best thing ever, was finally hearing from you.
Letters was a fun part of boot camp too, because usually, they'd end up laughing too, but you got a good laugh at the expense of other people as well. Because, it was sent, I think it's usually sent home, or you're told to tell people not to send you anything like any kind of like goodie packages and that kind of stuff.
I was so tempted to send that to Solomon.
And you still had people sending it to them. So, like, for instance, somebody, I can't remember who it was, but somebody's spouse or parents sent them one of the voice recording cards. Oh. So they opened it up, in front of everybody, and the CC got to take it from them and held it there, and like everyone in the company had to chant what it said from the card too, like in front of everyone. And then you sent me a letter 2 before, and she sent me 2 in one day, and one of my CCs was like, oh, you got 2? He's like, I'll open one for you. And there, there's no privacy for anything at that point. So they opened it up, and I think he actually asked me, he's like, oh, this was Michael Laura. I absolutely couldn't stand him in the beginning, but now we're Facebook.
But I would never write
awesome.
anything inappropriate. I'd always be
Yeah.
really, really encouraging and sticking like Bible verses in there and trying to just encourage you.
Oh, it was an any recruit one from you.
Oh.
And he's like, I'm not a recruit, but I'm going to open this anyway. And it said something to the extent of, oh, you just keep doing awesome, kick butt out there, right? And she's like, he's like, yeah, what is she, she thinks everyone here is too young. She's got to say butt. She can't swear or anything like that. And everything you said to, company commanders, you had to scream it back at them. So I remember having to be up there standing next to me in the front of the squad, or the company, and, I had to yell at him back. I was like, no, Pastor Laura. I was like, my wife, is a good mom and a good Christian woman. I was like, and she doesn't, use any profanity. And he just looked over at me and a couple of guys chuckling in the company, and he's like, all right. It's like, okay, good for you. And I was like the hero to the couple of guys in the company, that night. But Solomon's was awesome. It's like, we love my sister-in-law Kendall, so we can say it. But she just like Courtney sent a lot of in your recruit mail, and this is right before they're married, but or right before they're engaged, right?
Yeah, right before they were engaged. So they were just dating.
Yeah, but she sent something in your recruit mail, and she didn't send it in your recruit. She sent it directly to the CCs, letters to them.
Multiple?
And, no, I think it was just one for each of them.
Okay.
But it happened to be to Pastor Laura, I believe, again too. So it was just awesome. Solomon had to stand in his doorway there by his office, and he read it out and all that stuff. And it was just, Solomon came back and he's like, oh my gosh. we both of us thought it was funny, but yeah, he's like, oh man. Thankfully it was later on in Bootcamp as well. But yeah, that one was.
Can you imagine that being sent to them the first or second week?
Yeah. Well, if any spouses get more than one letter a week, it's usually because it's either, quick thing saying, I love you, or it's because whoever the recruit is there is really close to getting themselves in trouble, because there'd be people and myself who sit in the I'm past boot camp now, it's fine. There'd be people that sit in the bathroom stalls, and you'd be sitting there with your little notepad, and you'd tear out the letters, little notepad, and also you'd hear a CC stamp there, oh, somebody's writing in there. Everyone gets completely quiet, and of course then you have that one kid that opens the stall and almost starts crying. It's like, I'm sorry, I just missed my. I mean, people get reverted as well because of writing letters in class and writing letters when they're supposed to. And one of them even said, "Dear Mom, I'm not supposed to be writing letters right now," and they had her stand up and read out her notebook in front of the whole company as well. So yeah, there's a.
You got lots of stories.
If you can make it until week 6 or something like that. I mean, once I found out my orders, I was calling a couple times a week because
it was
to
great.
Coordinate everything.
Yeah.
And then
When he found out your orders, I was getting calls, I think, 2 times a week, if not 3 times. They were really, really short, mind you, 3 to 5 minutes. But it was just to get everything figured out for our move to where we were going.
And emails on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then week
6 was on base Liberty.
So we got our phones.
Which means that we got to talk for an hour or 2, and not just on the phone, but actually FaceTime, which was the best for our daughter. She loved being able to see her daddy.
I had to go sit out. Me and my little brother and one of our buddies grabbed our phones, and after we went and got food and still laid out on base, I think we went to the exchange as well. We went as as far away as we could pretty much, and just sat on our phones and checked social media, just kind of relaxed as well, and then called for a while.
I also had him record a couple of videos of him saying messages or singing a song or just telling our daughter that he loves her, so that way I could play them over and over and over again, and she could get used to his new look. His hair is usually a little bit longer than it is right now. And so that's what she was used to. And obviously when you get to boot camp, they have to get their heads shaved. And he has a lot of facial hair. It grows back really fast.
It's a nice way for saying it, getting your head shaved.
Yeah. Yeah. But so she wasn't used to him not having his beard or mustache, and so her watching those videos again got her used to what he looks like now. So when we saw him at graduation, she wasn't like, who is this guy?
Yeah, before boot camp and before each of like the 7 patrols I've done now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've done anything from just said little stuff, sung songs for her to Courtney play for Cora and Finn before bed, and then once or twice read some story or videotaped myself reading or videoed the book reading stories and stuff like that, a couple different ones to the kids. So and then a couple of other guys on my ship, they started doing it. I know Bateman said he made some messages as well. But,
yeah, it's great.
yeah.
And then on week 7, when you were at boot camp, you got off-base Liberty. I know I loved that probably as much as he did, because I got to hear from him all day long throughout the entire day. FaceTime, calls, text messaging. It was just like nothing had ever, you know.
I don't know how they're doing it now with COVID.
But
I don't know if they're great.
I think I heard somebody saying that.
On base Liberty.
Yeah, I heard that there's not off base right now.
I mean, some of the companies from guys we've had come to our unit, their boot camp is cut short because the first 2 weeks they just do a almost like quarantine in the barracks. Like they have food either brought to them, or they only have one company in the chow hall per time. Besides that, yeah, I don't know what they're really
Yeah,
doing.
but anytime that they had Liberty, they were able to have their phones, and so that was great because, like I said, voice call, FaceTime, text messaging, getting those video recordings or pictures, those are the things that were just the greatest, because then you could just go back and look at them all over again.
And 5 guys. That's good.
Getting something to eat, it's not.
And it's a big Coast Guard town, so we had 30 plus people going to the same 5 guys. Like people are going to movies, they're doing all kinds of stuff just to relax, but we had like 30 people go to 5 guys. And because it's basically a Coast Guard town there, you had these, you know, all these locals and stuff like that. They were just, you know, putting down hundreds of dollars and telling everybody that came in, you know, I wouldn't obviously expect it, but it was nice.
Yeah, and then week 8 came along, and at the end of week 8 is when they got to graduate, and oh my gosh, that was so exciting. We, at the time, my daughter and I were living in Washington State, and his boot camp was in New Jersey, so we had to fly across the country just for a weekend to see him. And then we ended up not going back to the same place because he had to go get our stuff, like our household goods situated, which was in Nebraska. And then we had to go get everything that we had from Washington and then go to our new station. But graduation was the best. It was the best time ever. I know that when we got there, they have like this brunch, like kind of thing for all the family members to go to if you want. And then for spouses or significant others, they have like a meeting just to get you kind of informed on all of the stuff that is going to be happening, all of the paperwork. I know that they gave me all this really good information for getting informed, and Facebook group pages to add, and ombudsman and what it is, and basically everything, all the ins and outs. And it was like this big packet of like paperwork that just had all this information for me, because you know that you're not going to remember all of that. And then after that, we got to go and watch them graduate, which was the coolest thing ever, because you are just waiting and waiting, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I think that's them. I see my husband. And then as soon as they're done, then everyone's like swarming the field, swarming, you know, the gymnasium, trying to find their person. And I remember I was really fast. I had our daughter and I was running to meet you, and then all of a sudden I couldn't see you because he's really tall, so he was in the very, very back, and I thought I was going to be able to beeline it right to him. But then all of a sudden I had all these other people beelining, and it took me a second to find you.
So COVID pending, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of companies, they didn't even have similar graduations at all.
They do online though, right?
I have no idea. But besides that, I know that based on the season, is when they'll do it inside or outside.
Yeah.
We were the first. We graduated in end of May.
Yeah. May 24th.
So yeah, so we ours was the first one, I believe, that was outside that year. Everyone else is in the really big gymnasium they have there. So yeah, besides that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, for us, we just all had our stuff preset the night before and the day of. And I mean, the last week is all, they separate the week 8 or week 7, whatever it is now with the coronavirus. They separate all of the people that basically graduated from the rest of the recruits there. So we were having get to actually talk with our company commanders, and they opened up to us about different stuff, and we were able to ask questions about what it's actually going to be like being out in the fleet. Yeah, I mean, the best thing I think that came from, I probably vented a lot in my letters to you, and the best thing, I think you did, and what anybody else can do, is don't be sitting there, agreeing that, it's a crappy situation. Just push encouragement on.
Well, that was boot camp in 8 weeks. I hope that this helps anyone who is looking into going to boot camp or becoming a spouse of someone who's at boot camp, or is already a spouse or significant other at boot camp. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, go ahead and comment down below, but make sure you like this video and definitely subscribe if you want to see more military wife content or any stay-at-home mom content. But thanks for tuning in, and thanks for watching, and thanks for being here. Bye.
Love you.
Love you.